Kizamde, hop on the beat!
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of the longest running and most influential manga series of all time. Starting publishing in Weekly Shonen Jump back in 1986, it remained there almost continuously until 2005, when it switched to Shueisha's monthly seinen magazine Ultra Jump. My reason for pointing this out is that JoJo was there for the birth of many of the most iconic shonen manga of the modern age, such as One Piece, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and Bleach. Something else that I find notable though is that JoJo ran alongside what is possibly the most well-regarded manga series of all time, Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball. Even with me knowing about this already, it does feel kind of strange to say, since I think me and a lot of other people view JoJo through a more modern lens, while Dragon Ball is something that's so ubiquitous that's been omnipresent since before most people watching this video even knew what anime was. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that JoJo didn't get a full-scale anime adaptation until 2012, when it had already been running for 25 years. To put things in perspective, when JoJo made its debut in December of 1986, that week's issue contained the 103rd chapter of Dragon Ball, which was when Goku was still a kid. So through everything past that until the final chapter of Dragon Ball, JoJo was still publishing along with it. Since the releases of the series are so intertwined, and both are so influential, and because I've been getting into Dragon Ball lately, I thought it would be nice to make a video going over all of the connections that the two series have, be it through direct references in JoJo to Dragon Ball, official crossovers between the two series, comments and tributes from the authors themselves, and just the overall history of their shared publication. Starting off, I just want to focus in on some landmark moments in both series to sort of establish a timeline so we can get a better understanding of how they both released. Hirohiko Araki made his manga debut in 1981 with the one-shot chapter Poker Under Arms. This was before Dragon Ball began, but at that time, Toriyama was actually still working on Dr. Slump, which can be found in the same issue. Later, when Dragon Ball's first chapter was released in 1984, that issue actually contains the 7th chapter of Araki's manga, Bao the Visitor. As I went over before, Phantom Blood started when Dragon Ball was in the Fortune Teller Baba arc, with battle tendency starting in the issue that Demon King Piccolo wishes to have his youth restored. Part 2's final chapter was in March of 1989 during the Saiyan arc, in the very same issue that had Yamcha's iconic death against the Cybermen. Goku achieves Super Saiyan for the first time in Chapter 317, which released in March of 1991. That week in Stardust Crusaders, they were in the middle of the game with Darby. Later, when Stardust Crusaders ended in April of 1992, the androids were fighting Imperfect Cell. And the end of the Cell arc happens during the chapter when the Invisible Baby appears in Part 4. Finally, on June 5th, 1995, the final chapter of Dragon Ball was published, with that week's JoJo chapter nearing the end of Part 4 with the fight with Cheap Trick. And just to stretch it a little bit more, the final episode of the Dragon Ball Z anime aired on the same day that the second chapter of JoJo Part 5 was released. Weekly Shonen Jump has had a tradition of featuring all of its running series on the cover of the magazine during special events like Christmas or the magazine's anniversary. And in many of these you can see JoJo characters right alongside Goku. For New Year's, they also used to have these group photos with all of the mangaka of the time, where you can regularly spot Araki and Toriyama together. Many Shonen Jump series have also been a part of official crossovers, namely the Jump series of video games, which feature characters from both Dragon Ball and JoJo. The first of these was Famicom Jump Heroes History from 1989, which includes much of the cast of the original Dragon Ball alongside Joseph Joestar and other Part 2 characters. Near the end of the game, the Demon King Piccolo puts together an army made up of Jump villains, including the Pillarman SEDC. The next game, Famicom Jump 2 The Strongest 7, includes Goku and Jotaro, with supporting characters from Part 3. The 1993 Game Boy game Colt Jump is basically a trivia quiz game with questions from the Jump series, and features characters from Dragon Ball Z and Parts 3 and 4 of JoJo. Next are the DS games Jump Superstars and Jump Ultimate Stars. These are 2D fighting games which, alongside Goku and major Jump franchises, also had Jotaro and Dio and some other JoJo characters as assists. Next is J-Star's Victory Versus for the PS3, an arena fighting game. This one included Jonathan and Joseph using their appearances from the 2012 anime. This game featured a story mode with the characters crossing over, however the JoJo characters just make minor appearances and don't interact with the Dragon Ball ones. Then we have the 2019 game Jump Force, which featured Jotaro, Dio, and Giorno alongside major Dragon Ball characters. This game also included some original characters designed by Toriyama. This one had an original story where Jump characters enter the real world, although Jotaro and Dio only play minor roles here. Beyond these games, they also can be found in the multiple Jump mobile gacha games that have released over the years. A JoJo-related Easter egg can also be spotted in the game Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. On the World Tournament stage, some of the background audience members reference other Jump series. You can spot Arale and Toriyama's self-insert character, as well as characters parodying Naruto and Sasuke, and one that resembles Bucciarati from Part 5. Within JoJo itself, you can also see some references to Dragon Ball. Araki has often referenced poses from other manga or works of art, and that can be seen in Part 3. First with Polnareff's reaction to Avdol's death, which is based on a page of Goku during the fight with Frieza. In an extra illustration of the world included in Volume 27, we can see that he based this drawing off of Goku. The minor character Nukasaku also has a hairstyle very similar to Vegeta's when his hat is off, and I always thought Kenny G's outfit sort of looked like the Frieza Force armor. In Part 4, we were introduced to the stand Red Hot Chili Pepper. In the JoJo Veller art book, Araki gives a short commentary on each stand in the manga, where he says, "The way he's strong despite being small might have been influenced by Frieza from Dragon Ball." In the same part, the design of Koichi's stand echoes and the way it evolves over time may have been influenced by Cell, with them having a similar color scheme and reptilian design. Echo's Act 3 in particular also has some elements of Toriyama's designs, like the arms being similar to Piccolo's. Koichi's hair is also shown to stand up when he activates his stand, similar to going Super Saiyan. During the fight against the rat stand in Part 4, Josuke makes a direct reference to Toriyama's previous manga Dr. Slump, comparing how Jotaro poked the cube of rats with a stick to the character Arale. Later in Part 8, there is a scene where the family has to cancel their trip to Hawaii because Hato didn't get passports for them. She didn't know Hawaii was part of America, since in Japanese, things like Pearl Harbor or Kamehameha are written in kanji. However, the real King Kamehameha's name isn't actually written with kanji in Japanese, so she's really just confusing it with the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball. One more way Dragon Ball has influenced Araki is with its volume cover illustrations. In a section of the JoJo Veller guidebook, Araki says that many of his volume covers use square illustrations, which he says were inspired by the covers of Dragon Ball volumes. Araki and Toriyama worked at the same time, but it is unknown if the two had any sort of direct friendship, like Araki has been known to have with some other artists, such as Fist of the North Star's Tetsuo Hara. However, the two were shown to have a mutual respect and would pay tribute to each other's manga. In 1998, a special feature was published in Weekly Shonen Jump celebrating Toriyama's 30th anniversary as a manga artist. As part of this, he shared his top 3 favorite Jump manga series, with number 2 being Bao the Visitor, which, as I mentioned before, Araki was writing when Dragon Ball first began. Alongside this, he wrote, "This manga has really well done artwork alongside a unique story and progression. It really stands out." In case you're wondering, his number 3 pick is the manga Shape Up Ran, a gag fitness manga, and his number 1 is Kyoryu Daikiko, a manga about dinosaurs. Funnily enough, this very same manga was also mentioned by Araki as another inspiration for the design of Red Hot Chili Pepper. In 2012, a special booklet was released titled 25 Years with JoJo, celebrating the anniversary of JoJo's creation. This included illustrations of JoJo characters drawn by 22 manga artists, including Toriyama, who drew Jotaro Kujo and Iggy in his modern style. He included a comment saying, "Congratulations on the 25th anniversary of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Araki-sensei, please continue charging ahead with your amazing and unique world." Araki has also frequently praised Dragon Ball as one of his favorite manga. In the JoJo A Go-Go art book released in 2000, Araki ranked Dragon Ball as number 4 in his top 10 manga. Later in a Q&A segment from 2003, he listed his top 3 manga. These were Babel II, Star of the Giants, and Judo Ichosuken, which were manga that published while he was a teenager. He went on to add that Dragon Ball should also be included. Araki has gone on to describe Dragon Ball's art as uniquely recognizable in a way that no other manga is. In 2016, the Dragon Ball 30th Anniversary Super History book was released. Much like the JoJo Anniversary booklet, this included a series of tribute illustrations, including one by Araki of Kid Goku. Here he wrote, "I've reread it so many times it still feels fresh in my mind. It's hard to believe it's been 3 whole decades. 30 years is amazing. Congratulations." To celebrate Dragon Ball's 40th anniversary, the Dragon Ball Super Gallery project was held. Starting in August of 2021, a new artist would redesign one of the manga's original volume covers each month. In June of 2022, Araki redrew Volume 33 featuring Gohan and Perfect Cell. Here he wrote, "While attempting to replicate this cover, I was reminded once again that despite appearing simple and flat at first glance, Toriyama-sensei's artwork possesses an incredibly precise and deliberate sense of depth, an amazing technique that can convey both flatness and three-dimensionality at the same time. It really is great artwork, isn't it? I am extremely honored that I got to draw the cover of Volume 33. Both JoJo and Dragon Ball are some of the most unique and influential manga series, so I found it very interesting to go over the ways that they coexisted for so many years, and how their creators paid respect to each other's legacies. I think the two series have a very interesting relationship, with how Dragon Ball completely defined the era that it was published in, and then after its conclusion remains as an omnipresent ideal of its medium. And then JoJo, which throughout multiple eras of manga until today has just continued and evolved on its own. I love both series, and although JoJo is always my #1 priority, I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of currently watching and reading through Dragon Ball, so I could see myself making some more videos on it in the future once I've completed the series. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below, and also share what you love about Dragon Ball and JoJo. If you want to stay updated on new videos, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. You can also join the Hamen Beat Discord to be notified on new uploads and any important JoJo news. Finally, I'd appreciate if you help support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member. All supporters get their names shown at the end of the video and can submit viewer questions. This video's question comes from Nicholas. They say, "I've mentioned my love for Kamen Rider in the past and ask if I've watched any Heisei or Reiwa series and which are my favorites. I mostly haven't been keeping up with Kamen Rider for a bit now. I have watched Kuga and Agito and enjoy those a lot, and I watched Revice and Geats as they released, but I haven't seen anything else since then yet. For my favorite, it would probably still be Amazon and Stronger like I said before, but I would also consider Kuga and Agito to be about as good as them as well." If you want to leave a question, you can become a patron or member at any tier and then leave it in the Patreon community chat, which you'll find on the left side of the site, or for members in the members only community post. If you're a member, you can also just comment the question anywhere and I can see it if you're a member. I try to answer one question per video, but there aren't too many to choose from, so feel free to leave as many as you want. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons and members. Thank you to Doorbell, Crayon, Rigovids, Zucato, Pumpkin Doge, Sponge Cake, Cakext, Feliciano Rabaja, Christian McDonough, Pulse Dog, Rob Goliath, Jacob Smith, Big T, Gold, Red Hot Mayonnaise, Zenkai, Keenan, Perry, Saint Bobo, John Garcia, Crank and Plank, Fran Studios, Shin Megami Tensei Film Reviews, Griffiono, Fiddlehead, Justice, Jao Marchins, Danilo K, Star the Gunslinger, Mel, Alavai, Kali, Javier's Milk, Billy the Corgi, Joe Jogan, and Time Lord.